Hey, everybody, welcome. And welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell. And tonight's proud sponsors of the show are Jen Sahar with Strong Foundations. With over 25 years of leading, mentoring, training, and coaching, Jen provides individuals and business personalized support to get aligned with your best life. For more information, go to www.jensahari.com. As well, get your copy of her book, Created, No Way Out. It is based on Faith, who is on the verge of ending her life following decades of feeling unloved and unseen and appreciated. And it's just filled with unique emotion, unique insights on mental health, and an ending you don't want to miss. As well, don't forget our camaraderie rescue mission summer raffle of fun. $7,500 value could be yours today for only $100. Get your name put in the draw for the Winter Haven 6-month Freedom Boat Club membership. But don't worry, if you're not from Winter Haven, Florida, you have a chance to win it and use it up to over 300 locations 4 times in the next 6 months. So with that, just go to www.tcrmi.org/shop to get your ticket today. With that, I am really excited to bring our special guest, Anthony Reed, to the show. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, Dorothy. How are you?
I am great. We were just talking in the green room here. We both just got off work, so we're awesome and we're ready to rock and roll. So, Anthony, for those people that have no idea who you are, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, just real quick, a little bit about myself. My story really starts out probably in December 19th, 1990. That's when 2 wonderful parents adopted me and brought me over here to the States from Guatemala City, Guatemala. Gave me a wonderful opportunity, gave me a wonderful life. We had pretty much everything we needed, but didn't have everything we wanted. But
Right.
it's those are things that help you through life, and they taught me a lot of different things through those different challenges in our lives. And then it had a pretty normal life. Was doing the things that I wanted to do as a young person, trying to figure out my career, what I wanted to do. I'd played around. I'd been working with my uncle in the plumbing industry at age of 13, so was starting to work with decide, hey, I don't really like plumbing as much. And so decided, hey, look, let me try something else, and decided to go for masonry, or to do brick and block and rock and all that stuff. Went to school, age 18, graduated, was going to school, to a vocational school to do that, and woke up one morning and found out I felt a little different than I used to. I tell people a lot of times I felt like Two-Face off of Batman. Is that come to find out I had a stroke due to high blood pressure.
Wow.
And so, blood pressure for a lot of people is definitely very important to keep an eye and make sure it's controlled. Normally, depending on, it could be 120/80, and there's, a little up or down. But I decided to do a little bit bigger than that. I decided to go 320/280, which definitely probably about stroked the doctor out. But, we all good. We all go. Let's go on forward, good life, move on, which we did. But decided 18, 19, who needs doctors, who needs medication, who needs that, throw it away in the trash and let's keep on moving. And then at age 25, that caught up with me, or not 25, age 22, it caught up with me in 2013. I was diagnosed with end-stage renal disease due to hypertension, or to high blood pressure. Had I listened when I was told originally, I would probably not even had that opportunity to be on dialysis. Did dialysis for 4 years, got transplanted, and started my dream job in 2017, and then started my own company in 2020, and now here we are.
Wow. That is an amazing story. And I don't know, did I know that you were adopted from Guatemala before? I don't remember that part of the story. And the reason why I'm so shocked is my sister-in-law adopted her son from Guatemala.
I don't know if you did or not. I don't know
I
if you did it or not. I know we had discussed it. We might have mentioned something in passing, but I think when you and I were having that discussion, there were so many different things going on, or anything
yes.
like that. It just, sometimes they get lost.
All right. We have a Facebook user saying, "Hey Anthony" and "Hey Dorothy." I'm not sure who that is.
I think that's Alexandra Rosa.
I was gonna say, I know Alex. I know you and Alex are really good friends as well, and I think she told me to connect with you, so
Yes.
it wouldn't surprise me. So hi, Alex. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, that is that's exciting. I didn't realize that was part of your journey. So yeah, my husband's oldest nephew was adopted from Guatemala too. So that's awesome. So what was it like, when you going through all this? Like, I can't imagine having a stroke that young and then, leading to the rest of your, kidney failure and having the transplant. But what would go through your mind like when that first started happening, especially at such a young age?
A lot of times, I think people, when you're diagnosed with something, you get in this state of denial. And, I think at age 18, when I had that stroke, it did affect me. I play music, and so I play the piano. And so when I went and realized that I could only play one finger and I couldn't play my chords in my right hand, I knew there was work ahead and having to get that all back, which I think we've got that back. But it did have its effect on me for a little bit. And, and then I got stubborn and decided to just throw it all in and let's just move on with life. Which, looking back, some people say, well, would you take it back? Actually, no, because I learned a very valuable lesson from it. And I think that's key in life is if you don't learn the first time, definitely you're going to learn it the second time. It's going to be a lot worse. But also know that learn it. don't not learn it, because it can definitely throw you for a loop.
That's funny that you said that because okay, so my dad was actually on dialysis for a while as well, and the reason that he had a cold, like a common cold, and which would have been nothing to nobody else, but um, it persisted. But what he didn't tell us is he couldn't urinate, and the reason why he finally got to the hospital was because he lost sight in his eyes. So when he lost sight, he was taking the dog for a walk, he lost vision and started screaming at my mom, "Okay, fine, I'll go to the hospital now." Hadn't kept anything down for 3 or 4 days, but that wasn't what got him. And sometimes you're right, the life lessons, like losing your sight, gets you to finally do something about your situation. So would a good lesson, like when your body's trying to tell you something, listen to it, right? And that was the start of his journey to being on dialysis. He never had a transplant. God healed him. To make a long story short, he was on it for maybe 4 months and got off it. The only one that the team in Windsor knows of that's got off dialysis without a transplant.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose your sight, that is definitely something that is significant. Definitely. I mean, when I first after I threw my meds away, I ended up going to the eye doctor because I couldn't see out of my right eye and barely out of my left eye. Come to find out, I was legally blind in this eye, almost blind in this eye. And the funny thing about that is it was due to hypertension. We know it was due to the high blood pressure. But the funny thing about that is before I even went into the hospital, when I finally reneged and said, okay, I'm going. And what got me was the buzzing in the back of the head, because my head was buzzing, and that's not generally a good sign. What got me was just a few days before, I could actually see before I started dialysis. So I was blind, but now I see. So,
So that song really has a meaning for you then. I was blind and now I see. Dwellin, welcome to the show
what's up,
from
D?
Phoenix. Kidney Trails present. That's awesome. That's right. So tell us about Kidney Trails because I know, I don't know, his name is Jeffrey. I think his last name is Green. I'm not sure if you know him. He's on Facebook a lot, and he does a show all about kidneys. People needing kidney transplants, and he helps them find a donor. So I should, if you don't know about him, I'll connect you to after. Right now he's in. I know he's sunning his buns on the beach somewhere nice and warm. He's been posting for the last week, and I've been like, okay, I this guy's having fun. But I'll connect you to afterwards. But tell us about what Kidney Trails is for the people that don't know what Kidney Trails is.
So KT actually started, I would say, back in 2014. I was actually on dialysis. I felt like that there was something greater to do with my life than just be on dialysis and go to vocational school and have a okay job, and just have a lot of family. So KT really started out with an idea, or really a calling. I say that I remember where I was at when I wanted something more than just the norm that you see out there, the norm things. And there was what I say about that. I didn't want to know about the blood pressure. I didn't want to know about the potassium. I didn't want to know about all the medical jargon. I had my medical care team for that. Leave the medical care stuff to the medical professionals, not to somebody that didn't know. What I wanted to know was, what lessons did they learn from this? You see, back at age 16, and this even goes back, my uncle, I call him a seed planter, because he started, we're driving down the road to a service call, he would have the CDs going, the Zig Ziglars, the Napoleon Hills, the Jim Rohns, the Les Browns, and I hated it. Put my earbuds in my ear. I want to be cool, listen to my old MP3 player. Of course, we use our phones now, but going down the road, and then at age 17, one headphone came out, and then age 18, both of them came out. And so I wanted to know, if was there anybody out there that had that had to do dialysis that had this type of lessons they learned, and I couldn't find anybody.
Right.
It wasn't something that was something I don't think a lot of people were doing back then. And so I felt like there needed to be something more. So the idea that started back in 2007, back in 2014, when I started down, when I was in the chair, that I realized there was something more than just all this other stuff. Like I said, leave the medical to the medical, leave the professionals questions to the professionals. What else can we learn? What else? Because there's life lessons in everything that we do. And so it started out with a little idea. Let's see what we can do. And it didn't. And I tried it in 2018 and 2019 and failed miserably both times. Never even got it off the ground. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I've been in the public speaking industry since 2014 as well. So I had gigs, I had speaking engagements lined up. I had 9 to 10 speaking engagements lined up for the year 2020. 2020 hits, COVID hits, everything shuts down. And it's like, there goes all my speaking engagements. So how in the world am I going to share this story? What am I going to do? And there was the thought of the podcast, or at the time I didn't even know much about live stream, if anything at all. And then there was blogging, and I said, I'm not a writer, but it's about all I feel comfortable doing. So I started out with my journey, and KT really started off just as a personal blog, and as went into multiple guest authors, multiple authors sharing their journey, not just the story, but the lessons that are learned from them. And then it started as a blog site with those guest authors, and we've got a lot of collaboration with other companies, other organizations, a lot of partnerships. We're also a publishing company, KT Press, Kidney Trail Press, where we publish books. We actually have, I think, on file right now, we're looking at about 10 books for the end of the year that we'll be publishing. Ranging in from we have one, I'm going to give a little quick shout out. Our author we're working on right now with him right now, Yermi is For the Love of Success. So that one's coming out in August. And then we will be having, like I said, about 9 more books come out by the end of the year. So we got that. And then we got the KT Broadcasting Network, where we actually do 3 live stream shows and a couple podcasts as well. Help produce those.
Wow, that's awesome. I just want to go to the comments for a minute. Philip says hi from Los Angeles, and our friend Michelle from out in California. So, wow, that's definitely quite the story. You've got your own production company going on there now, and things like that. What made you decide to get into productions and producing shows and being a publisher and all that?
A funny story. So Dwayne came up to me. He said, because I was doing this little comic strip called Adventures with KB, the Positive Kidney, which is kind of he's like our little mascot, I guess you'd say. You can see him at the outline of him in our logo. But I was doing little comic strips, and he said, "You know what? I've got this story. I'd like to do it in a comic strip, and I want to do it about a hemodialysis technician from what they see in a patient's initial treatment." And I just said, "Okay, yeah, I can publish that." And I've never done publishing in my life. He's like, "Okay, let's do it." So I started into something I knew not of, but really did a lot of research. And the other thing is, it goes coordinates exactly what I wanted to do, and that's bring the stories to life. We call it making your story valuable one word at a time. Each word, there should be something behind it. It's more than just, a bunch of words together. We want you to get something out of it. So we did his graphic novel first. That was our first one. And I think we're coming up on a year now that we've
Awesome.
been in actually as a business. And so we've got his book coming out, well, that book. And then it moved into, okay, now I want to get, not only do we do graphic novels, but I do want to get these other stories, which we are getting right now. So we're working on with some other authors and some other people as well with that. That's how we started the publishing company. But then the broadcasting kind of coordinated with it. And I didn't want to just be all about kidneys and all about dialysis. Let's look into some different things as well, which we did, which we've got the Rich and Dwellin show. We've got the Extraordinary podcast, host Willis Porter. We've got the Kidney Trails Fireside Chat, which is just casual conversation, just a guest and myself talking about different little things. It could be somebody about success, somebody in dialysis. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And then we've got the Kidney Trail podcast, and we've got two other shows as well. So it's a lot of fun. It's just another way to get the information out there and to bring spotlight to those people, push them out to the forefront.
Right, right. Just shout out here to Melody from Massachusetts.
Hello.
And Drellman says, please visit kidneytrails.com/store for your merchandise and publications, as well as making your story valuable one word at a time. And that is so true. That's why this show was started, giving people a platform to share the story. I believe everybody has one, and that's why we're here today. Because, when we're going through these moments and these times, and we think we're the only ones that are going through, quote unquote, the hell that we're going through at the time, um, you know, if somebody else is out there going with it with you, or has gone through the same thing, you have a tendency not to feel so alone. So, that's why we started ours. And I'm not sure if that's probably why you started some of yours. So here,
Yeah.
anyone interested in being a guest author, please visit our website, click on Write for Us. That's awesome. Visit. Thank you for being here, and he's your scribe tonight.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it was one of the reasons we started it, as far as sharing the story. One thing it goes back to, I wanted another platform to share more than just going out in public speaking, which that's what I did, and that's what I still do to this day. But I wanted to get a little bit more personal, give people time to read it on their own. And I think we're almost to the end of the journey up to the transplant now on the story. It just all of a sudden we've gotten slammed, and the blogs, I haven't been able to get down to sit down and actually write like I really need to or really want to. More, it's not really need to, it's a want to. And so, sharing that, sharing the different aspects, sharing the different, these are the lessons that I learned from this certain portion in my life. And I think that's very important. If you don't learn the lessons, then you're gonna keep going through you're gonna do the hamster wheel of lessons, and you'll never get there.
Right, exactly. That was my next question. What advice would you give to somebody who's 18 years old, just had their first stroke, and thinking that this is it? What you're not really sure what's going on, but I'm sure you must have been scared at one point. You were young going through this. What advice would you give to that young person?
Well, with any young person that has any type of disease, I mean, it happens more often than we would any of us would like to see, because the young people, I don't think they really don't deserve to go through it in the way. But it's not over. It's really there to make you stronger, to make you better. I would put it this way, and this is something that I felt: if you're young and you have to face something like that, it's for a reason, it's for a purpose. It's because there's something special that you need to go do in life, and something that you can go do and make a major impact.
Right. Absolutely. Dwellin also says the KT Business Summit is coming in November. Stay tuned. Absolutely. So exactly, we all go through things in life, and my uncle used to have this saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And he was teaching. He lived in Taiwan. He was teaching English to the Taiwanese, and he had this girl that he was teaching, and her background, it was horrible. I mean, she had been abused several different times, and she had said to him, Brian, I really believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And he told me that, and I was just like, that's always stuck in my head. So we go through these hard times, because if we didn't, then how could we relate to each other, you know
Right.
and
And I think too is taking that word. A lot of people say we go, we go through. But if you go through it, you may have to go through it again. You need to grow through that. It's like a plant. You got to water it. You're gonna have to fertilize it. It hurts to grow. Think about when you're a young kid, and I've got three young kids myself, and when they grow, you get those body aches, and where you're growing, it hurts. It's not fun. I remember being 5, 6 years old, sobbing because my legs were hurting because I was growing. So it does hurt to grow. So it's going to hurt to grow. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's necessary to get to where you need to go.
Absolutely. And just think, you're going to use that to help somebody else. Melanie says, the bigger the struggle, the bigger the purpose. Absolutely. She says she loves that. Grow through it. Absolutely. We'll have to make a sign. Grow through it. And so, how long were you on dialysis before you got your transplant?
I say I tell people I have a 4 year degree in dialysis.
4 year degree.
I was like a week or two shy of being 4 years on dialysis before I got the transplant. But I mean,
Right.
in school you don't go all year round generally. So I tell people I have a 4 year degree and graduated to transplant.
So, how many times a week did you have to go for yours?
So for mine, I was three times a week. I went in center at 3 hours and 45 minutes, a treatment, and that's a key thing. Is it's interesting because people said once you get out of dialysis, once you're out, you're gonna have all this time. I don't have all that time. I had all that time when I was on dialysis. It's 3 hours and 45 minutes. Not that saying I don't want that again, obviously,
Right.
but it's what you do with that 3 hours and 45 minutes or the 4 hours that you're on that chair that counts.
Right.
There's people, there's things in the clinic when I was going that they call them TVs. I call them time vaporizers. They really vaporize the time and don't give any merit to the time. It doesn't really fulfill it. So to utilize that time wisely so that you can be prepared for the next step.
Right. Right. And that is so true. I mean, I was down there when my dad was having his treatments, and 9 times out of 10 he would just go to sleep. But he was older and really just wasn't. He would have a puzzle book too. Like if he woke up, it was there was still time left, he would do that. But you're right. Use your time wisely, and that's where those tips with Zig Ziglar that you didn't want to listen to probably came in handy.
They did. I mean, I listened to Zig. I listened to Les. I didn't listen. I listened to Jim a little bit, Jim Rohn, and some of those other ones, and really put them to use. Especially when you're sitting there, you don't have nothing to do. And I challenge anybody, if you say, well, that's easy, just sitting there 3 times a week, 3 hours and 45 minutes. I would challenge anybody to go sit in a chair for 2 hours and not get up, not even to go to the restroom or get a drink of water, because it's not as easy as it sounds. But it really can work on the mind. It's just that idle time, what they say, idle time is the devil's workshop, because it can really, really affect on how you think on these different aspects. It can really throw you into a state of depression, anxiety, closed in, all these different things if you allow it to. So
Right.
you really have to keep your mind busy. And for me, it was the Zig Ziglars. It was that. Also, while I was listening to that, I was drawing a lot. And also, I did school while I was on the machine as well. I went to vocational school online and did an electrical degree while I was all on the chair. So I wanted to utilize my time wisely so,
Right.
that I would get things done.
Now, I know that for some it was offered, but I don't know what the circumstances were. Were you at one time able to, because they have the portables where you can bring it into your home and do it at home. Was that ever an option for you?
It was always an option, but an option I didn't want to pursue at the time. The job that I was in at the time, because I ended up switching jobs, I really didn't have a lot of communication with other people. It was
Right.
just kind of a solo me job. And so I really needed that in center experience to actually have good conversations with other people. Even though your chairmate right beside you, you would talk to them, and you would pick on them, and I could tell you so many funny. I've written about the stories. They can go read it. Funny stories of the pranks I would play while I was in dialysis and the different things. But it was really my conversation. It was really my connection with everybody else.
Right. That I was gonna say that was my next question, because when you're going through something like that, there's you're in a room full of people usually. Um, so building that connection with people that are going through the same thing as you, especially when you've been through it for 4 years, and I imagine it'd probably be the same people in there each time that you went in there. Building that connection, it's almost like a camaraderie type thing. Even I guess is the best way to describe it. Um, when you're going through that together.
It can be. I can remember there were 6 people that I call them kidney coaches because they actually took the time to actually share with me what they learned, and they weren't sharing. They were sharing lessons of life. Okay, like one of them said, "Look around you, Anthony." It said, "You've got it good. Look around you. You've got it good. There's a lot of people that would like to be in the situation that you're at right now." And one person said, "Well, it could be worse. It really could." One person says, "Get up when you put your feet on the floor. Just remember you're greatly blessed and highly favored." All these different little things helped me along in my journey that really, and to get me to where I was going. And they started sharing these different things that would help me later on down the road and even during the moment.
Right. That's awesome. And so, how long has it been now since your transplant?
5 years plus five.
Yeah, perfect. And everything's going great for
So
you.
far, so good.
Awesome. I love that. I love hearing those stories. Um, there's just so many people out there that don't have that good story. I guess is lack of a better word. So, congratulations. That's awesome. And what would you, as somebody who's gone through, the dialysis and then the transplant, what would your what would you say to somebody that's going through that now, like going through the transition from dialysis to transplant?
Well, there's a lot of things to think about when you think about going from one place to another. First of all, it's change. Okay, if you've been on dialysis, if you've been in any situation in any amount of time, just there's a change period. And I think change actually scares people. It's this fear of the unknown. Well, first of all, don't worry about the unknown. Kidney trails have conquered the unknown for you. Number one, but it's this fear that, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. What is this going to happen? I'm getting dialysis because some of the thoughts that came to me is, why do I want to go for a transplant when I'm doing okay? I just have to come and get needle sticks, or do I really want to go get surgery to get this transplant? Yes, it may make my life, but it's all these different things that the thoughts. So first of all, keep the doorway of your mind clear these negative thoughts. And second of all, look at it with an optimistic outlook, not a negative outlook. You don't want to look at it as, well, well, this could happen and this could happen. And if this happens, man, I'd really be done for.
Right.
Let's look at it. Well, what about if it does work? What about if I don't have to do dialysis? What about if I am able to have a family?
Right.
And I have one of them coming behind me. What about if I do have, if I get that dream job? What about if I do all that stuff? That's going to be wonderful. So you look at it in a different light. Don't look at it in all, because this world that we live in now is so doom and gloom. It's all these negative things, and I mean, you don't have to pick up your phone and you can have so many negative thoughts. You don't even want to touch it. So you got to really you really got to separate that. So
Right.
that's the thing. Look, also, somebody that's looking at that, look for the success stories. There's a lot of stories out there, but a lot of times they're negative. You want to look for the success stories, not the negative stories.
Yeah.
Think about it like a garden. It's easy to find the weeds, but harder to grow the fruit.
I love that. Absolutely love that. You're right. With everything out there, we have to focus on the positive. And I'm sure, um, seeing somebody go through dialysis and cancer, your mind plays tricks on you. Your mind absolutely plays tricks on you, especially when you're going through these things, like being in the chair for 3 hours, almost 4 hours, right? And so keeping yourself, not only yourself motivated, but surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you bring it through that, right? Instead of just
Right. And, I would have to go back to my uncle on that one because he was a very big proponent of that encouragement that I needed. I'd call him up and I'd ask him this and that, say, I'm really having a hard time with this thought. And he'd say, well, let's go here, remember this, remember that, remember whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, good report. And it really helped me guide me through that. But here's the funny thing is I was actually able to return that favor to him because about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he was actually diagnosed with cancer. And last year we about lost him. So I was in his shoes then, giving him those same, this, remember, keep a strong mindset. Watch out here. It's, yes, I know. And I know it feels like you want to give in. Okay. It's okay.
right,
Okay, let's gather up. What did Les Brown say? If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, just move. Just all these different things. So I got to return that favor to somebody that actually had a different diagnosis, but it's still the same. These challenges in life, and the only difference between uh, you and me is the challenges we face. The need is the same. There's nothing different really. People say, well, you're on dialysis. Yeah, but you've probably went through something horrific in your life too. You probably, it could be loss of a job. It could be a loss of a companion. It could be all these other different things, but the need is still the same, and the lessons can still be the same. It's nothing different. We were just all given different challenges.
right. Absolutely. Melody says you are definitely have some serious wisdom.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
And that's so true, and good for you for reciprocating that, back to your uncle, right? Having him be that sounding board for him when he needed it, um, which is so true. And I believe that if we stay positive in the situation, that's you've already won half the battle. Half the battle right there is just by staying positive and being upbeat. And don't don't get me wrong. There's going to be days you're probably gonna not want to get out of bed, but make sure that those days are small compared to the good days, and making sure you're taking that one step forward. Um,
yeah. What
yeah.
did what did the one person say? I've had a lot of good days, but I've had a lot of bad days, but I've had a lot more good days and bad days. I think that's what they said. I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what I tell people. I said I've had a lot of good days. I've had a lot of bad days, but I've had more good than bad. I mean, I've had a good life, and that's what I tell them. They say, "Well, you're here." I said, "Yeah, I still got a good life because I'm living."
We're on this side of the dirt.
Yeah, I'm on this side of the dirt. No, I don't want to go to my cousin. He's an undertaker. I don't want to go see him.
Could you imagine? I can't imagine. That's one profession I don't even have I couldn't even do at all.
No,
I've dabbled in a lot of different things, but being an undertaker is one of them.
no, 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 not for me.
Not my ideal of fun. That is for
No.
sure. So, what would you say is next for you, Anthony? What is the next big thing that you want to go for?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things we're working on right now as KT. I mean, we've got I can release some things in the book. One of the books is coming out. It's my book that's coming out this year. I'll be making a formal announcement on August 20th about the book and the title and things like that. But that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun with that book and what we're doing with the story. So that's good. The business summit coming up, that's going to be interesting. We're really excited about that as well. It's a little different because of the fact that, it's, you said, well, your renal, your kidneys, dialysis, but they give people the tools they need to be able to get the careers that they want. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And we got a new exciting show coming up next year. I can't go into too much details, but we're actually in the process of getting people for that. So that's really exciting. Just a lot of different fun things that are going to happen, and that's going to help with those that have kidney disease or want more information about kidney disease. But also giving those life lessons. That's the main thing. Giving those life lessons in that. So.
Right. Your friend here is asking what's in store for KT for the next 5 years. You said last couple years. What's the next five?
Next five. Thanks a lot, D.
Let's envision this right here. That way you can
Oh,
come back and say it. It's like on the show.
yeah.
Would you say?
No, I mean,
Would you speak outcomes about? Right.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that's one thing we could talk about is having a vision. I think it's very important on what you're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years. What's the one plan like you're going to live forever, but live like you're going to die today. So you need a plan, and that's the one thing. We got the publishing company, we got the graphic novels coming out. We've got more than just that. There's some other things that we're working on in education over the next couple of years. We're actually working into some things with some research, with some other different. I've got my research developer, my director of research and development, that was actually actively working with some different of the universities around the nation. With research not only in the renal industry but also in the transplant community as well. So it's just different things that are growing a good bit, which we're in. It's exciting to see what they're doing. It's exciting to see what the team's doing, and it's not just yes, I own the company, but those guys really do a phenomenal job, and they take ownership and they do phenomenal work every single day. And that's the thing. I enjoy seeing what they can come up with. Someone will say, hey, I want to do this. Okay, go for it. Let's see what happens. And that's part of how the research came about. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be growing over the next couple of years as well.
That's awesome. Dwayne's laughing at you. Exploring the unknown territory.
Mm-hmm. Conquering. Remember, we're conquering. We've explored it already. It's time to conquer it.
Time to conquer that wall. Absolutely. So, you mentioned something about the education of research. So you say, are you partnering with any doctors in your area or anything like that to help with the education, or is that just strictly through what you've gone through yourself? Or
So our research and development director, he's actually working with some other universities, some other doctors and physicians and different things in different programs and things that, right now we can't really say a lot about. I do know that one of them's going to be really excited with what we're doing, and we're gathering some people to do that, to help us with that research as well. But that's what he's doing. That's his gig. He says, I want to do this. I love research. I love the development. I was like, okay, well, where are you going to go with this? He goes, well, you brought me this. I said, yeah. He goes, I think we can make this a lot bigger and bring in more people and do this. So yes, we are working with physicians, doctors, PhDs with different research projects as well.
that's awesome. Yeah, I was just hats off to any doctor that is, well, number one, even out there and practicing in anything. But I was just thinking, Dr. Cadre here in town in Windsor, Ontario, amazing team. Like he has not one, but his team is of like five different doctors. So when you come into the hospital, it's like there is no playing around. It's like tests from the time you get in until they know exactly what's on there, until you're strapped to dialysis or you're on the transplant list or whatever the case may be. But so I, even though it wasn't a great experience, it was a good experience with the doctors that we had, meaning that we knew we were in good hands, right? Because as a caregiver, that is scary when you have no idea what's going on. All you know is that, you know, your dad's gone blind. Yeah, can't pee, for lack of better terms.
Hey,
It's not
it is
coming.
it is what it is.
And so you're scared. You're really not sure what's going on. So having those amazing doctors there and that team, that was our experience. Anyways, our experience was a positive experience with the team that we did have. So, was that your experience as well when you were going through your dialysis and things like that?
I mean, there were times a lot of things were a blur as the individual that was receiving the treatment. It's, you've got end-stage renal disease, your creatinine's this, your GFR is that, all these medical terminology, and I'm sitting there looking like, the deer in the headlight looks at them. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, what's next? You got to get this surgery to get this catheter in so you can go ahead and start dialysis. We're scheduled it for this, this, and this, and this. And, let's look at home. Let's look at all these different things. It was just a lot of overload. And it's part of it. This is all the information. And thankfully I had my mom there who was able to retain some of that. But, over a period of time, once you get settled, then you can start asking more questions about your care.
Right. Yeah, it's important to have somebody else there. And I know um my mom was there through most of it, but at the same time she was also had a case of pneumonia. Sorry, there's a bug flying in here and it drives me crazy. Of course, it didn't fly by me at all until we were on the show, right?
That's a
Uh,
beauty. That's the beauty of live stream. Anything can happen. I've been on live streams before, and just everything just goes wrong, and you just roll with it.
well, that's it. And somebody's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." My kid's in the background. I'm like, you know what? That's the beauty of live. If we wanted perfect, then we'd be in a studio, but this is what it is. Eventually one day we will be in a studio because I see the show going global and being nationally syndicated. So that's just, that's me talking to my universe and my God, bringing it to fruition. But getting back before the fly and the squirrel decided to come, yeah, having that support system and really so that you can bounce out off each other as well, right? Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, sure, right? I mean, things happen. Look, distractions come. We can actually take that. That distractions do come, even when the individual is getting the care. Distractions will come. Okay, so it's not a bad thing. Distractions come. You just gotta not squirrel out too much.
I have a tendency to scroll out a lot, so I don't know.
I, I
Maybe
did that to. I did that today. Bad. I'm preparing for a speech I'm supposed to give for Steve Gadsden in this masterclass session. So I was preparing that, and I got through. I was like, "Oh, I scrolled that whole entire speech. I got to go back and get the squirrels out."
that, my friends, is how I got through college. Just saying. I bullshitted my way through college, and then you give me an essay or you give me multiple choice. I can get you an A in essay. I don't know about the multiple choice so much,
Oh,
but
yeah. I don't think I can scroll too much on this one to get on this one. So, but that will be an interesting one. I'll tell you to say the least.
we have another question. If you could go back 3 years prior to KT now, what would you change?
Well, the one thing is, I look at those years as years of experience, years of learning. So the only thing I would change is nothing, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Slam. There you go. That's funny you said that because I had a coach tell me, you know, I'm like, oh, I wish I could change this, wish I could change that. And she goes, yeah, but then you wouldn't be who you are today. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, it's that's the thing. People's ask me, if you could go back and take your meds and not have to do dialysis, would you do it? It's like, no, no, because it pointed me in the right direction. Life has a way of doing that. It point you in the right direction. Say, hey, look, you're not doing the right thing. You need to move this way. So the thing is, the only thing is that I would go in knowing a little bit more what to expect, not necessarily change anything, because the lessons are there for us to take, glean from it, harvest it, and then enjoy it. That sounds like a
Absolutely.
speech.
There you go. There's your speech. Just listen to this again, and then you got your speech done. Uh, Valen says, wise words from the ants. Bravo. I have a feeling that you two are like
Oh
Mutt and
my.
Jeff when you were together.
Either that or Abbott and Costello. I mean, it can be. So D and I met back in 2000 and DTX 19. 2000 was it 19? I think it was 19. Yeah, I think it was 19. DTX 19. I actually was scheduled to speak at the association where he's the president at. And so I got to meet him the last day, and he was the president. We got to talk, and then we kind of kept in contact. And in 2020, I actually reached back out to him, asked him, "Do you want to write?" And next thing I know, he's we're side by side. We work side by side very well together. And yes, we talk almost every day. And we literally, some of the conversations we have is just absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, he's saying
Yeah,
Laurel and Hardy.
I would say that. Yeah.
Hmm. But that's what keeps life interesting, right? Because if we can't have fun and we can't bring fun into what we're going through, um, I have a tendency to do that a lot, and especially if it's something serious, I have a tendency to bring humor into the situation. The, my
It-
my thing is like on my dad's deathbed, I was cracking jokes. Everybody, thank God, it was all people that knew that this is exactly what my dad would have wanted.
yeah.
Because some of it, like I got my humor from him. He's Scottish, and so I get the dry humor from him. So I'm just cracking these jokes off and laughing hysterically. And I'm just like, you know what? If anybody is offended by this, then I'm sorry, but I'm not going to quit.
It, it, I get that because sometimes it happens to me, and at the worst times, you're like, probably wasn't the best, but oh well, it's life.
Well, and but the thing of it is, okay, so going through dialysis, like that's what I've seen some people have different reactions and things like that. And it's the first time I was in the cancer ward, seen that too. Like people hooked up to their chemos and things like that. So either which if you're going through dialysis or chemo, you're hooked up to something. So in some of those times, like you kind of need humor to get through it because I don't know. That's just how I see life. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, that's when humor got me in trouble a couple times.
okay. So tell
Just,
us one of those stories.
I'll tell you about the prank I pulled on one of the individuals there. Um, I never watched TV when I was in there, but the clinic that we were at, the TVs, the remotes to those TVs would actually work on all the TVs around the room. And I literally got the wise idea to keep turning this other TV off for this other individual setting. It, I think I did it 3 or 4 times, and they never got wind of it. They were getting so upset until the nurse caught me, and that turned out into another debacle of a hysterical situation. So it's just things like that, between that and the roller derby, that was pretty funny too. When some of the staff decided, and oh man, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I shouldn't. The staff decided to do a race on the rolly chairs around the clinic. That was funny. So, it's just a
That
little
would
things like that.
But like when you're going through these situations, you need that. You really do.
It's those situations when you see something like that, when you're in the chair and you see a situation. I guess this would be a good thing for his, patient experience or anything of that nature. When somebody's going through a really rough time, especially you don't know what they're going through up here, and you see something like a roller derby, and just say somebody crashes into the side of the wall by accident, and everybody's laughing, having a good time. Maybe it's the staff decides to do a dance party, whatever it may be. It's those times that really takes your mind off of all of this negative things that are around you and brings you in and say, whoa, what's it's like your mind stops because this is abnormal. This isn't supposed to be happening. And all of a sudden you got these neon lights, all this stuff happening, so to speak, and everything just stops and you're focused in on that one thing and it gives you that sense of relief. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. And Melody nailed it. Lighting the mood is good medicine. Absolutely. Laughter is the best medicine, I believe. And, keeping your positive vibes up or whatever you want to call it. Um, James, welcome. What's
Hey
up?
James.
James is a poet. So James, I forget where James is from, but yeah, James is a poet. So maybe James, you should connect with Anthony after the show, and you can publish his poems.
Sure, always open to conversation.
There we go. So that's awesome. So we're getting ready then for the next segment of the show because I know that we're going to bring more. Oh, James says, "Who's on first?" Okay,
I don't
more
know
of
what's
this.
I don't know third base.
Laurel and Hardy. I never really got their humor, but that's okay. I'm going to bring Kimberly to the show now, and I'm going to bring it over to her so she can do the fundamentals. Can't hear you.
She- She's
Hey,
a mute.
starting with it right away, right? Um, so Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It's
Yeah,
just yeah, just a real pleasure, and I love the amount of fun that you keep bringing up and the difference that fun and laughter make, especially in those times of life that it can seem more dark than light. So
right.
really, thank you for being a real demonstration of what that can look like. And so many great gems tonight on the show. Really beautiful.
I'm I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Hopefully, people can take something away from it. You
Yeah.
know.
Oh, well, I know I did. Dorothy, how about you? How about you, audience?
Yes,
Did you
of
also
Yeah,
course.
get something away? Of course you are.
that took some things away too. That's the fun part about doing these shows and speaking is sometimes even the speaker or the guest sometimes can take their own thoughts away and go back and mull over them and say, that was pretty good. That really came out quite well.
Yeah, it's the power of sharing. It really is, in the grand design of how we're designed, right? In our human vessels is that connection that shows up in communicating and sharing and being a contribution to one another. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It just keeps expanding and blossoming, and it is the secret garden of humanity. Sharing.
Yep.
And thank you for doing it so vulnerably and authentically tonight. It's really been a true pleasure to be a part of.
It's been an honor, so I appreciate it.
So, with that, we would love to hear what your fundamentals are
Mhm.
for life. What is it that you want to leave people with? It. What is the secret ingredient, as you see it, um, that will make a difference for people so they can live life fully and celebratory and fun, regardless of their circumstances.
Well, I would first say before I go into that I would take this a little bit from Jim Rohn is don't be a follower, be a student of it. Take what you can and what you can't, it's okay. Because it for every one of us, it's different. So, one of the things is, we talked a little bit about the fundamentals a little bit. We didn't dig a lot into it, but we talked about the good mindset that, sorry, I saw that comment and had to stop and look at it.
Well, let's share it, Dorothy. Go ahead and share it.
It's okay.
There once was a bird named, I don't even know what that is.
Crapperby.
There you go. Who sat in his bed all day. To the world he finally trailed, and he did it. And here he did
And
stay.
to here he did stay.
That's funny.
Thanks, James.
Appreciate that. Squirrel.
Right? Right?
So the one thing is when we were looking at this, and the thing is there's not just these three fundamentals, okay? There's so many different things that go into this. And the first thing, and this is just a little bit of my philosophy of life, there's other things that, some of the different speeches and different things that I've written about is really shares a little bit more into the philosophies that I hold and that I believe in. The one thing is definitely a good mindset. And part of that having a good mindset, I would say, would be to not only have positive thinking, that's only a small part of it, but it's also something that can have the positive mindset, a small part of having a good mindset, but you're also looking at having a good vision of your life, where you want to be, how you want to be, what do you want to be? It's like Dwayne said, where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want in 10? And my thought goes even more that what do you want said about you at the end of your life? How would you want your life to live? So it's all, when we're talking about good mindset, I'm talking about not only all that other stuff, but I'm talking about the, vision, your goals, your dreams, your hopes. Let's look at, these type of thoughts, your philosophy of life. That's going to be part of that good mindset of that. And
Mhm.
along with that, definitely what inspires you. And whatever inspires you to keep that inspiration going, you need motivation to feel that. So be motivated. And that's just a real quick overview of some fundamentals.
Beautiful. 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 Well, So were you putting all of them into one, or
It's pretty much. I could speak probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours on having a good mind, what a good mindset means and looks like, because there's so much into that. It's more than just, people say, well, you got to have a positive mindset. You got to have a positive mindset. It's more, it's more than that. It's more than a
yeah,
positive mindset. It's a good portion of it, but it's more than that.
yeah. Well, I mean, in the world of it, right? The mind is ultimately what is the driving force. So it's
No, I
in.
mean, no.
Go ahead.
I mean, what did Napoleon Hill say? He said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind of man achieves," and that can go for negative and positive.
Exactly.
So whatever you conceive, if you conceive that you want a big old house and you want to have financial freedom, and you believe it, you have the possibility to achieve it. But if you conceive that you want to live in a dump down the road, and you want to be in debt all your life, and you want to be, homeless, you're gonna believe that, and you're gonna conceive it. So it goes into so much more than just that one portion, which a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on. But I think there's so much more in that.
Well, most definitely, most definitely. It's kind of it is the filter though, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
kind of like on the air conditioner, you know. The air
yeah.
conditioner is only as good as the filter.
It is, but it's also I say it's a doorway to the soul. You better keep your mind. It says, I was talking to somebody about this very thing today as I was talking about it, is that, we were kind of talking about the same. We were actually having a little debate about the difference between being a speaker and a motivational speaker. It was a whole debate. It was a lot of fun. But my thought is you got to keep this clear. You got to keep the doorway clear. Whatever enters that, it's going to go. It will have the opportunity to go straight to your soul. Don't allow anything in here. If it's negative, push it away. If it's going to be a bad, whatever it is, any of that, just guard it. Let it go through the filter. Let it go through the trash can. Don't hesitate to throw some of these things in the trash. Who is that? Us. I'm still on a live stream.
Live, people, we are live.
Hey, look, that's the doorway of the mind. No,
Yes.
no.
Yes, yes, yes. That's so perfect. That was absolutely perfect, as it always is. Really brilliant, and to boil it into the three inside of the game that we play in the fundamentals. What I really heard was the clarity of vision and being responsible for the dash, as I like to say. um,
Yes.
and uh, and uh, and then being responsible for your filter, right?
Right.
And the status of your filter. And then what I've been hearing loud and clear from you tonight, Anthony, is, oh my gosh, look at that! There's a filter. Hi,
There's the
beautiful.
filter. Hey,
um,
boo boo.
is to have fun in all of it. Keep it light,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
keep it very light. And this one, and wherever she's at, if she'll pop in, that one helps me keep it light. uh, Sorry about that. Well, actually, I'm not going to apologize for life
No, please
happening.
No,
don't.
don't.
Please don't. No,
No.
no, no.
These are two of my three kids that I have.
Beautiful.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's also a fun fundamental, is to stay like the little children, right?
Yeah, you do, especially in today's world. It's my son, he's 5, and he always questions why. And I think that's a good thing to have, is to always question why. But then you got my daughter, who's full of life. And people say, well, this and that, but it's like, she's full of adventures, what I would say. A little bit more energetic, but that's okay. And then we're still figuring out about my youngest, but that's the fun things in life. These are the things that really keep things moving, is the family and the children. That's a lot that goes into it, And I think um, if people were to have more imagination like children do, oh my, oh my, I think I put a saying that the imagination child far outweighs that of any adult, but is stifled,
Yeah,
and they can't
absolutely.
reach their full potential. I mean, I've been to parks before, and these looks nice. Oh, it's a beautiful park, but what would a kid have? What would they put out there? You said, well, it doesn't look right. Well, what would they do? What would they imagine? Keep it up.
Right. 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 Well, it's so beautiful, these generations that are getting to be raised up in the level and access of technology that we have is, the opportunities are just literally endless of what they're going to be able to express themselves in that they could never do before with the technology we had. So I'm very excited for these next generations, you included. So, and by the way, that is definitely something I wanted to say to end the show and pass it back to Dorothy. You are such a breath of fresh air, Anthony, inside your generation. And it's just really great to see um, our futures in your hands. So thank you for who you are. And Dorothy, back to you.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I just want to thank some more people that joined us, Tim, Sean, our sons, and definitely your why. Why is important throughout your life. Absolutely. Let's have the curiosity of your 5-year-old son. I love that.
Oh yeah.
Love that. So, folks, I just want to thank everybody that's been in the comments, and I want to thank our guest, Anthony, for being on the show. Anthony, where's the best place that you want people to reach you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's pretty much where I'm more active on than Facebook. But you can find me on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook, but we're also on. If you want to connect with the company, we're on Instagram and Twitter as well. We're also on Twitch, and also you can find us at kennytrails.com.
Amazing. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget, Anthony's big announcement is coming August
August
20th. I wrote that down, August 20th. So stay tuned because we'll make sure that he spills the beans and let us know. With that, be unstoppable in all that you do and see you next week. Same time, same channel. Bye for now.